But I think we'll have a break now. Do you want some cocaine? Hello, welcome to Podcast 6. Today I've got a special guest, a man who wears many hats, a former journalist, founding member of the band Hell's Bells and member of the punk band of the 80s, Discharge, all-round musician and sex god known around the world. It's Paul Quigley. How are you, sir?
Great to meet you, Jimmy.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to see that's a very strong handshake.
Irish.
We spoke on the phone a few times and I couldn't get a word in edgeways, so I'm hoping you're going to make my job very easy today.
I'll try.
I'm going to be talking about your life, your music, your thoughts on everything, but mainly I want to concentrate on your music today. How you started off in music, your progression through it, out the other side. I know your music changed, but there's a lot of shit thrown at you there.
Yeah.
So it's in your own. I just want to press the button of Paul Quigley and sit back and just start eat my malt loaf, metaphorically, and you just. So tell me about you, how your musical journey started. Where did it all begin, in the words of psychiatrists?
Well, Jimmy, it began in a little town in the Midlands in England, where I was at school, and I joined a band at the age of about 14. And I'd fallen in love with heavy rock at the time, and Phil Lynott was one of my heroes. And I was a bass player for a few years in a couple of bands, and ended up being a singer as well, because I was in the choir at school. And so I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. My brother was an academic type. He went off to Oxford, and that wasn't for me. I didn't want to become an academic. I wanted to be a rock god. And of course, it just didn't jive at all with my parents, who were very sensible, educational people. And they just thought, you're going to end up in the gutter, which is actually... They say you're going to end up in the gutter, and
well, they're not wrong, are they? Yeah.
Well, and here I am. No, so but I mean, they had like the civil service kind of earmarked for our sort of generation of people who went to these grammar schools, as was, and yeah. Long story short, though, I thought, no, I'm going to risk this, because I had a very fortunately with a small c conservative background. My parents, even though they had come from very working class stock, Bootle in Liverpool was my father's background, working on the docks, that was his father. My mother from Huddersfield in West Yorkshire, her father had been an engineer, and he was like one of very few professionals. So they were very much aspirational, upwardly mobile, lower middle class, trying to get out of the gutter. And here's me in the 1960s, who post-war Britain, didn't know any of that, kind of assumed that everyone had lived in a 3-bed semi-detached house with central heating and carpets, and I kind of almost took it for granted. I really did. And so, long story short, music was for me anyway, and I happened to write, I was really into literature and lyrics and stuff. English was about the only thing I was actually naturally good at. I wouldn't revise at school. I just never revised for anything. And I scraped 4 or 5 levels. Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah, put your teeth in. 4 or 5 O levels. Didn't qualify for the A levels at the time. Had to go back and retake my 5th form at a different school, grammar school kids. And
they won't know what that is. They're all, none of my fans go to school, and they're all raised by wolves.
But my dad had to put his sons through grammar school. Anyway, long story short, I did scrape a couple of A levels, that was my passport to London, to Polytechnic at the time, so I could get up to London, not to complete the course at all, but to get into the music industry, which is what I duly did. So in about the early 80s, 81, I moved up to London at the age of 19, and went to college and did this English-German joint degree at North London Poly, and bunked out after the second year because my plan had always been to go to auditions, join bands, and just progress in the music business is what I did. So
you knew what you wanted to do.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Almost like it was sort of kamikaze. I just had to do it. I didn't care about the consequences. I just didn't care. I thought it was shit or bust to me, to go in phrase. I just had to do this. Otherwise, I couldn't live myself. I couldn't do what my brother did and just gone and worked in an office and just sat there thinking, I should have had more, grown a pair. I should have grown a pair, because I've had conversation with my brother many times since, and he actually admires me in a way. He said, I wish I'd kind of been a bit more risk taker like you, because he went into the health service. It was very boring. Not that he didn't have a good career and he's not happy, but I think he just felt that in some ways life had passed him by.
Yeah.
Because he was too much of a conformist.
Yeah,
Whereas life is for the living, isn't it? I believe it's for the living,
of
Jimmy.
Course.
You know?
It's taking the risks, Paul, isn't it?
I think so.
You know, but
is that what you've done? Have you done that?
I just fucked everything up in a grandiose fashion. That's the only. But it's not about me. This show. It might. My name's on the sound, but today it's the Paul Quigley show today.
Thank you,
talking
Jimmy.
about you. So tell me how you go into your first band. Tell me the story. The serendipity we've talked about.
That's right, serendipity.
How you ended up getting on the ladder to.
That's an interesting story. Out of all of them, it was basically tenacity, I suppose, as well as serendipity, where once you've got something, well, I scoured the Melody Maker. Melody Maker was like Equity magazine. It was the Bible of the music industry, where all the auditions were in that. So you buy it every Thursday and you'd scour it. And I just struck lucky one day where there was actually, it wasn't quite as simple as that. There was a band looking for a vocalist because they had a record deal on Bronze Records and they were looking for a singer. So I went down to Roundhouse Studios in Chalk Farm, London, and auditioned for this band. And we were getting on okay, and we had some gigs arranged to sort of on like a mini tour. And it was at that time where I was wandering around the record company in Bronze Records looking for lyric sheets for this band. And I was wandering around in and out of offices looking for, somebody said, oh, it's in that office down there. And I wandered down this corridor, and I inadvertently wandered straight into middle of a business meeting. I thought, oh my God, I've just put paid to my chances of getting this gig. And they all stood up. They were around this meeting table, and they all stood up and they pointed at me and they said, can you act? And I said, well, yeah, thinking, dollar signs. And they said, great, can you be here, this place next Thursday, a certain time? We need an actor to the lead role in this, and you look just the part. And I was wearing this black leather jacket, black leather trousers, big blonde hair, makeup and everything. Looked like Vince Neil on steroids. Anyway, so I turned up on the Thursday, did the acting, and there was all these sort of equity actors like Claire Davenport from Dick Emery Show and Fawlty Towers. She was my mother in the first video. In fact, she was mother in the second video, but I'll get onto that in a minute. And so Claire was there, and she was lovely. Well, they always are, these lovelies, aren't they? Darling. And so we were darling all day, and it was darling, right? Girl, action. So we did all the video. We filmed it for MTV. MTV was just starting in 1983. We were on high rotation. This was for a girls' school video. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Girls' school video it was. Nothing to do with the band I was auditioning with. So I got the part. The band, of course, hated the fact that I just got the part. I didn't get the gig with the band, but I got the gig on MTV. So there I was, all over MTV, all over the States and wherever else they broadcast it at the time. And the MTV producers loved the video so much, it was on high rotation. They wanted a second video, same team. So Claire and myself and others were enlisted again to do the second video, Play Dirty, which is on YouTube. You want to go and check it out. Me in 1983, October, doing the two videos. And it was just from zero to hero in no time. And I just thought, didn't expect this. I thought it'd be a band. I didn't think it'd be an acting thing, the visual medium at all.
So can I just ask, what happened to your band then? Did your band fall to pieces at that point?
My relationship with them fell to pieces. They carried on and finished the album and hired another singer to finish.
So they fucked you off, or you fucked them off, and it was a mutual fucking off kind of thing.
They fucked me off because had they offered me the gig, I would have taken it. I'll be honest, I would have taken it, but they didn't. I think what it was a band chemistry thing. They just didn't like me. The fact that I wandered in off the street for an audition and was like hopped over them in the pecking order of things and became the star in the record company and they got the deal and I hadn't. I was just this Johnny come lately guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they fucked me up. I would have taken that gig, but anyway, so they carried on. Their album came out, they did tour the States, and unfortunately for them it didn't happen for them. Then they were dropped from the label and the rest is history. So I think I made the right move.
That left you in a position, you was then an actor, but you was in a position that where you was inside the industry. That's then exactly it. So you could build a band. I did of thing.
Because then I was going to all the parties with Girls' School, around the London scene, meeting all the stars, all the people I'd adored, like Phil Lynott and Michael Schenker and UF. They were all at these parties all over London. Whether it was Frank's Funny Farm in Chalk Farm or the different, the night at Kensington and St James's clubs. We'd all be there. And the Marquee, of course, was in the Ship, the pub on the. I mean, everyone used to go down the Ship outside the Marquee on a Saturday night.
Did you ever go to the Ruskin Arms?
Yeah, played there.
We did a gig there. We was an indie band playing Prince, but I I said, you know what, I'm booking us a fucking gig there.
And,
and an agent was meant to come seeing us, and he cancelled the night before, but I didn't tell the fucking band because I said I want to play the Ruskin Arms.
Yes.
And we went down, and it's a traditionally a rock pub,
Yeah.
and we're like just doing guitar pop for want of a better thing. And we followed on a fucking Argentinian thrash metal band, 6 rockers, and it was the audience. But to be fair to them, they was like very receptive, and you know what I mean. It wasn't their bag, but you know what I mean. But
Yep.
I'm not fucking jumping on your story. I just needed to ask you about the Ruskin Arms.
Yeah.
What was the scene like? What you know, at that level of fame? What was it like them days for you with all them famous people and Phil Lynott and stuff?
It was you constantly pinching yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because you'd seen it in the pages of Kerrang and Melody Maker and Sounds, you know, for the previous 5 years, and then suddenly you were like, you'd wandered into the set, and it's like you would wait for somebody to say, "Oi, come off," you know, drag you out, and if they weren't, because you were as much part of it as they were, you'd been accepted. You know what I mean? And it was just like, this is like, there was no money. Don't get me wrong, there was no money at all in at this stage. That was like, because that would come with royalties later on, you know, or record sales, and we haven't even got that point yet. So it's all about getting your face. Did your face fit? And of course, in the industry, it's all about does your face fit, and how can you actually quantify that? You can't. It's an intangible thing about that. It just is organic. It just either happens, and some people love you, and other people can't stand it. There's nothing you can do about that.
You could call it fate.
Yeah.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so at this point, when you was doing the party scene, you'd just been in this girls' school video.
Yeah.
Had you formed Hell's Bells yet?
That came 5 months later.
5 months later.
And the beautiful thing was that I had the show reel of the videos to show the guys from Discharge, because Discharge was a spin-off. Discharge broke in two. 2 of the guys split off and formed Hell's Bells, and I went to an audition and got the gig as the lead singer in that band, and I was able to show them this video, and I think obviously they were very impressed that they thought, well, here's a photogenic guy that can front up the band, which is what they needed, because the band they came from, they were a bit Mohicans, rough, and they were looking for the big hair, you know. Yeah. So I fit the bill from the so that basically was my CV. It got me the gig. It undoubtedly, and not the fact that I couldn't sing, I could sing, but it didn't hurt, to put it like that. It did not hurt to see the fact that they thought, well, okay, this guy knows all of the industry bonds, and we, you know, I did. I introduced all the guys to that, and you know, in due course, we got Hell's Bells got the record contract, which was very hard to get. And even then, it was hard to get. I mean, and now it's impossible to get a record contract, as you know. It's just the industry has changed totally now. But back in them days, they did still have A&R, artist and repertoire staff that would go around and look for new talent and would sign them and give them a contract. Of course, the contracts were appalling. You know, they were basically like mortgages. You know, you'd actually end up paying it all back. But that's what everyone aspired to. That's what you weren't anyone unless you had a record deal. You know, you could say, "Oh, have you got a deal?" No, you're nobody. Then once you said, "Yeah, got a record deal, got an album coming out, got a single coming out," you're like, you've landed, you've sorted. So we got all of that. We were very lucky in a way. Again, serendipity, as well as tenacity of just sticking to it. And every Thursday, of course, we'd have to go and sign on the dole with our UB40s. We'd have to go and sign on the dole, available for work. Then straight off to the rehearsal room, rehearse all day long. Unpaid work, you know.
Was that hairy in London? Living down in London, was that hairy kind of thing, surviving on the dole?
It was in the sense that, this was when I lived in Brixton, and it was right when the riots were going on. There was a riot in 81 and riots in 85. I'd moved into Brixton in 82, so I just missed. I just missed the 81 riots. So there was a very great tension in the air. But it didn't rub off in the sense that there were lots of Rastafarians in Brixton at the time, and they were very religious. They weren't, you know, materialistic.
Peaceful.
Yeah, very peaceful, and they were all playing dub music and actually lived next door to a crew, and they were lovely. They were like, I had sort of woodwork that needed doing, and they were very skilled at what they did, and I got on with them like a house on fire. It was a lovely atmosphere, but you wouldn't go out after dark, but you wouldn't any time anyway. You know what I mean? Because there's always dodgy types out in the.
No, I mean, like, was it like financially hairy? You know, like you know, just kind of like surviving on the dole. I mean, in London, if you, I don't know if people lived in London anyway. You know what I mean? Because if you're not rich.
No, you're right. Well, there was squatting was very, very prevalent. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Squatters' rights then were very powerful. You know, people would move out, and fortunately, I got what they call a hard to let flat. That place in Brixton was hard to let. The council couldn't let out because it was in like either a dodgy area or the quality of the was very poor. But you know, if you could get people in to actually put carpets in these places and make them nice, that's what they wanted to do. So I basically it was like a scheme that the Lambeth Council was running at the time. I think had it been not for that fact, I wouldn't have been able to afford. Like you say, I couldn't have afforded the rents. Even then, they were, you know, way more than what you get on the dole. I can't remember what the dole was in them days. It wasn't much. I mean, in terms of, well, what about work? I mean, God, there was unemployment was like 3 million back in the end. You couldn't get a job. There was no work to be had. Nothing at all. Certainly not cash in hand work. It was all, you know, on the board, you know, but whatever, above board, whatever you call it. So no, it was very, very difficult. So anyone who was a musician was either on the dole or in work. There was no like halfway house. So that's exactly how it had to be. So we were literally baked beans, tins, smoking nubbins, you know what I mean, and picking them out the gutter, and is that one all right? Yeah, you know what I mean. It was really, it was like living in poverty, but that's what you did for your art. That's if you wanted it enough, that's what you had to do. And then you'd hit pay dirt, and hopefully you got carried up the ladder, and you'd be out of it. But that was it's the pecking order of things. It's what you had to do. There was no shortcuts. Never any shortcuts, God. But you just had to have faith in what you did, and just hope that either you knew somebody with a rich granny or somebody like that who'd send food parcels down. Which is
How did you fund your demos?
Oh, that's a good question. Pooch was the guitarist in Discharge, well, one of the guitarists in Discharge, who, when he left, he had a good friend called Bob Barnes in Leamington Spa, where he lived, and he owned a record company. A record shop in Leamington, and he was prepared to put up £500, which is a lot of money back then. Quite not now, and to pay for the recording studio for us to do the Hellspells' first demo in April '84. So we went into the studio. We just got a manager at that point, hadn't got the record deal. We recorded 3 songs. We recorded the song title eponymous track called Hellspells that I'd written before the band. Brought it into the band and retweaked the lyrics for this outfit. Long Legs, that was another one, which is a bit like a Van Halen, which I know you like, kind of Sammy Hagar, Dave Lee Roth sort of knockoff, really, because that was the kind of the genre that was coming through.
Is this your EP? What's online? Is this what you recorded, or is that later on? Is it an EP?
Before, it's actually unreleased.
Okay.
I'll see if I can have a chat with somebody and see if I can get these available. Yeah, so you can hear them. And a song I wrote before Hellspells called "If It Don't Make Your Ears Bleed, It Ain't Rock and Roll," which is a kind of a tribute to AC/DC in a way. It was a kind of in that area, but it was enough to get the record company's interest and say we like this, and signed us up to one album, one single deal, which is what they did in '84, back end of '84. So that's how we got we needed that demo money.
Was it an independent label you signed to?
Castle Communications. They were quite a big. They used to buy up
Sabbath. They're doing a lot of Sabbath and stuff like that.
You've got it. They used to buy a back catalogue of all the old Sabbath, Uriah Heep, Motorhead, all them sorts of old bands. They used to buy up their back catalogues and put them out on compilations and re-release them. We got in on that, which was great because their distribution was fantastic. So the Hellspells album, jumping forward a bit, got all over the States and Europe and Japan and everywhere. So we really did. We were lucky there. We got a hell of a lot of record sales. But unfortunately, the band advance for touring wasn't forthcoming. So we didn't have any touring dates, and there was no retainer, what they call a retainer. Normally they give you a retainer, which is basically your equivalent of the dole, you know what I mean? So you didn't have to sign on. You could be out of town and not have to be rushing back to sign on.
So even though on paper you were selling lots of records, and people would think, fucking hell, he's in a band, he must be have a mansion and a Rolls Royce, but in reality, he was all in a fucking squat in London, like
paying that back,
eating beans.
Because the record company advance that they spend on your recording, say if they give you $5,000, you then spend the next X years paying that $5,000 back and then some. You know, the other costs that you've incurred, because they're putting it on your tab. You know, they're not giving you anything. They're giving you a loan. You then pay that back, and once that loan's paid off, anything beyond that is your profit. But it never gets to that point. For some reason, it's like it just keeps stacking up the red column. You know what I mean? It never gets to the point.
We got you some Mars bars with 300 quid. That kind of shit. Like, you know.
Yeah, and their expenses goes on your tab. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like,
they're living off your tab and then charging you for it, kind of thing.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So, at what point did you think, like, we've got this album out? You know, we're selling loads of records with no money. And did the record company, did it just stall?
Yes.
What happened?
What seemed to happen and this of course is my own personal account, the other band members might have their own view on this, I don't know, but I mean, nothing too controversial or anything. It was the impetus, if you like, or the excitement of the Kerrang reviews, where we were getting really great reviews saying the album is great, the live band is great. When the record company didn't put out the 10 grand they needed to buy us onto a US tour support slot, which is what it cost.
Can I just ask, who was the band? So could you explain to the people at home what a buy-on is? A
buy-on is where if you want to, raise your profile as a support slot, as a support band, you can never go straight to headliners. So you normally got to buy yourself on to increase your awareness. You have to pay a big name act a fee to go on that tour, and they normally want X £1,000. In them days, 10,000 was a lot of money, and it's 10 a lot now. But in order to basically share their PA costs and warm up the crowd for them, you'd buy on, and you'd just that would be it. You have to find your own travel and accommodation.
Raises your profile.
Yeah, you'd raise your profile, and then hopefully then people will trot off down to HMV or Virgin as was and buy your album and recoup that back. But they weren't prepared to stump it up. They just weren't, and I couldn't understand why, because they'd spent all the money on the adverts in the papers, in the Melody Maker and the Kerrang adverts, full page adverts, Hell's Bells album out now and all this stuff. And yet they didn't seem, but I think it's because they weren't actually a conventional label. They were more of a compilation label.
Yeah.
So they didn't understand that is what you have to do. They think they probably had a figure in mind of how much they wanted to spend on us. And then until we started to, bring money back in, they weren't going to go invest any more beyond that given point, whatever it was. And then we never had that conversation. I don't actually know. The guys seem to be, the record company guys, as record bods go, seem to be okay. I thought they were sort of fairly, on the level, not rip-off merchants, and I don't think they were. I just don't think they realised what having an actual band on the stable meant in what the commitment there, which is a shame, because had it been another label, well, you might say, well, maybe you wouldn't have got a deal anywhere else, which is completely possible. But we were with this label, and close but no cigar. I keep using that phrase. We keep using that phrase.
Absolutely.
Because that's how it is. I mean, I'm not going to try and polish a turd here. It is what it was. It was like you do everything, and then certain things then go into a different realm where it's out of your control. You turn up, you sing, you perform, you write songs, you produce the content. And then it's up to the angel, to the
whatever. Lap of the god. It must be so frustrating.
Yeah.
To be there in Kerrang one week, and then about 3 months later you stand the door looking for the most basic minimum wage jobs, or there wasn't minimum wage then. But it's such a ruthless industry. It doesn't really account for people. It's just commodities, and all it is economics really, and people and their lives don't come into it. And there's actually tales of, you'll have two similar bands, and the record company want to concentrate on one band. So they'll sign both bands up and freeze them, do nothing with them, and just let the contract ride out while this band excels and goes on. And it must have been just so frustrating for you. Was it a very low point in your life that after Hell's Bells finished?
Yes, it was. Even though at the time you got to try and pick yourself up out of the by the bootstraps, because the bills are still coming in, for like electricity, gas, and food, and the band members aren't going to help you out because they've got their own problems as well. And of course, the day job beckons, it did, and I had to we all did at some point have to consider, rehearsing less often, because the gigs we couldn't afford to. We used to have to pay for like PA hire. Any gig you do would be like £50 a night. Well, you've got to find the 50 quid.
That was a lot of money then.
Yeah, absolutely. And the record company wasn't stumping up anymore. They just basically said, well, we put your record out, whatever it sells for, blah, blah, blah. Ongoing running costs, down to you, mate. You know what I mean? You're on your bloody own. So it was hard. It was really hard, because you realised that you'd done everything you could, but the lap of the gods aspect was, you can't control that. You can't put any more energy into it, because you'd just be pissing in the wind, basically. You'd be flogging a dead horse, which is what we thought we were. And I think then the friendship between the band members of this common purpose, this common goal that we had, we all felt it. We all felt the fact that the energy was being sapped out of us. Just keeping enthusiastic, like, oh, come on, just one more, like, last hurrah sort of thing. It was like, you couldn't keep doing it. It's just like, well, you said that last time. This will be the one that such and such an A&R guy from Atlantic will come down on so-and-so, and he'll say, oh, we'll have that band, you know what I mean? And it doesn't happen, and you kind of think, oh, but it might be next time. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, pull the other one. So, the inevitable happens. We all drifted into day jobs, basically.
It can be very... a horrible feeling when you have to go back into what could be termed civvy street.
Yes.
When you're a creative and you know what you're capable of, but the world doesn't accommodate you in that aspect. Did you always have when you had to go into a civvy street, and was it journalism you went
Yes.
to? Even though journalism is quite a lucrative career, did you still have the gnawing feeling inside you that this isn't me? I'm just having to do this for fucking survive and all that kind of thing.
You're absolutely right. And again, I sort of tripped into journalism accidentally because I was a BT, British Telecom employee who knew about telecoms, but I was lucky, air quotes lucky, that telecoms exploded when mobile comms, mobile cellular phones came about. I knew all about that, but I could also write. So when I left BT, the opportunity to be a freelance journalist presented itself as a pure accident, where journals were ringing me up saying, "Can you, what's going on with this cellular thing?" And I thought, I can do a little account. Next thing I knew, I was writing it every week between every month. And next thing you know, I had a full-time career as a freelance journalist writing about this stuff, and was all over the BBC, Financial Times, big fat management reports, 10,000 word documents that I'd be writing and producing and interview, going all over America. In fact, I went more over America being a journo than I ever did. Well, I never did as a muso at that time. So I was going to LA and Dallas and New York as a journalist. My eyesight was okay in them days, so I could do these things myself. Now I couldn't do it, not without an assistant.
Could you explain Paul's? Could you explain your eyesight issue?
Yeah, I've got I got Irish genetics on my mother's side, and unfortunately my retinas stopped working about 5 years ago completely. So I am actually now officially registered blind, which has been another cross to bear. Which has got progressively worse over the decades, and now I'm in my 50s. It's pretty damn bad. So that's another challenge I've had the whole time, to sort of get from A to B. Always been difficult, never driven.
He's not wearing them sunglasses indoors because he's a fucking cool rock star. he has a legitimate reason.
Yes.
If any of you ask, somebody might be tutting going, "Look at him with his fucking sunglasses on in house. I hope you feel ashamed of yourselves now anyway." Yeah, but we're only joking. They're quite. Paul, you've seen the live chats. They're all sound.
Yes, they are.
So it wasn't exactly you went into like a normal. It was like quite an high-profile job you went into after the music. Was there a musical hiatus for a few years?
From '87 until 2008, 2009. When that's
quite a
20
big.
Years.
That's quite a big gap, really.
20 years.
And your musical style has changed.
Yes.
It's like from metal to acoustic.
Absolutely.
Is that like with age we all mellow out and a taste mellow out kind of thing to a certain extent?
Absolutely. Partly that, but also, as we mentioned, we were having a chat before we went on live, that we were saying that it's the dynamics of keeping a band together is difficult to keep 4 or 5 individuals on the same page at any one time. It's just logistically, I don't want to take that responsibility on and be like a co-manager. I just wanted to do my own thing, tell my story, my songs, my experiences, shared experiences of how I've, my life. Bearing in mind, a lot of my songs aren't necessarily autobiographical, but I said that again. All my songs aren't.
Say what the fuck you want to me. This is Palletwood Studios, Paul. Anything's available.
Serves me right. Autobiographical. That's the word I was trying to get it out of my teeth. They're not necessarily autobiographical, but they tend to be, even though you don't realise that a lot of the time. Because I think good songs are written from experience. So, I'd like to have got a band back together. It was great. When it's going great, a band is fabulous because you're all, ploughing the same furrow, and it's great when the team effort, coming off the stage after a great show is a fantastic feeling with band. It's great, slapping each other. That camaraderie is fantastic. I miss that. But the downside is bickering in the back of a van when you've eaten my fucking burger.
You dropped a note that you can always blame somebody else when you have a bad gig, can't you?
Yes.
I was in a band and I do miss the camaraderie of music, But I think we'll have a break now. Do you want some cocaine? See you in a minute.
My old friend, speak to me. Don't you know things must be my old friend. How comfort thee and do the things sets me free. And I know, Lord, yes I know that one thing, so go we go. You may be gone, you'll not forgotten. You may be gone, you'll never go. You may be gone, you're not forgotten. You may be gone, you'll never go. My old friend, can't you see that what will be, my old friend, I'll comfort thee, do the things that must be. And I know, Lord, yes I know that one thing, so go we go. You may be gone, but you're not forgotten. You may be gone, but you'll never go. You may be gone, you're not forgotten. You may be gone, but you'll never go. You'll never go, no, you'll never go. You may be gone, you're not forgotten. You may be gone, but you'll never go. You may be gone, not forgotten. You may be gone, but you'll never go. You'll never go. You'll never go. You may be gone, you're not forgotten. You may be gone, you'll never go.
You just heard the lovely, lovely song by Mr. Paul Quigley, Gone But Not Forgotten. Wow. Back in the room now. Thank you, Paul, for that song. It was it's a great song, that. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I asked you to play that particular song because it's one of my favourite ones, what you've heard. I've heard of you. So what you're doing now, we're going acoustic, aren't we? That's the future of your music.
Yeah, it is. I think at my age, to be blaring heavy metal out, I mean, obviously, bands are still doing it. I think Iron Maiden and all these other bands, they're fantastic. They're still doing it. So, as Sean Connery said, never say never. So, I mean, but for me now, where I am musically, acoustic solo is kind of where it's at. So, yeah, the plan basically now is to finish my studio, record the first album. I've probably got about 20 songs that I've written. I'd like to get them all documented before I forget the lyrics, and get an album or two out and put them on, the usual thing, iTunes, Spotify and all that terrible stuff, and basically take it from there. I mean, post-lockdown, who's to say what live music's going to look like? It might look really different. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know quite where performance is going to come from. So these sorts of things, Jimmy, are fantastic for creative.
Normal podcast, sir. Yeah, from this one kind of thing. This is where podcasts come to die. That's the magic of pallet wood kind of thing, like, you know what I mean? I was thought it was adrenochrome, but we can't afford any. We have to do with gravy granules and hope for the best, But talk to me about your songwriting. Do you write songs a lot? Do you constantly come up with ideas?
Yes, I think as a writer, I'm always looking out for new titles, new themes for songs, and they all kind of get registered in the back, even though I don't document them immediately. Like I know a lot of songwriters do have a notepad, they carry a notepad and they're forever. That's not my brain doesn't work that way. I tend to sort of wait for the sort of the emotional thing to come here, you know what I mean, the heart sort of thing, rather than writing in the head. I mean, it's very easy to write in the head where you're writing very sort of factual things, but I find that come the time it's songwriting time, I've tried it. I've tried different methods. It's a bit like acting, different method acting, and songwriting is the same. I've tried it head writing, and head writing, it's contrived. It doesn't work. It looks, well, certainly to me, when I come to perform it, it's like this isn't coming from the soul, you know. This is coming from almost like fake, and I don't want that. So chuck it away, get rid. Start again. And if I find a really simplistic lyric that conveys an emotion that I want people to feel, whether it's grief or love or, you know, or success, anything, that to me is the essence of a song. Like, you know, I look at people like Springsteen and Dylan, all the great songwriters, you know, Paul Simon, there's loads of them, the Beatles, of course. What is it that is the essence of what they do? It's never the musicianship so much, you know, that's more like to do with jazz and stuff like that. Whereas I think for me, what I've always wanted to do is to capture people and make people say, yeah, I can relate to that. Shared experience for me is everything, because I think it helps people. You know, I've had my own particular journeys, you know, with my eyesight failing is, you know, I don't go on about it because we've all got crosses to bear. So I don't want to do the, oh, woe is me trip, but, you know, it has been tricky to get, you know, navigate life, and it's hard to keep your morale up a lot of the time, particularly in the world we're in now. Yeah. So if I've got any way of helping, I don't want to become like a musical therapist per se, but if it's helped me, and that's what it is, it's a vehicle for me to get through the day. I need to songwrite. I don't really have much choice in it. I do it because it's all I think I can do. If anyone else likes it, I'm delighted. But if they don't like it, it's almost like an alcoholic, I'm going to be doing it anyway. Yeah. And if you like one of my songs and it helps you through a hard time, fantastic. Yeah, I like up songs, of course I do. You know, it's not all downers and griefs. But where I am in my life, it's like my best years in terms of partying and all that sort of stuff, it's kind of behind me. So what's ahead? It's basically substance and love and all that other good stuff, and making life worthwhile and having a purpose. And I've stole that off you, Jimmy, because he said this.
I'm still looking for a purpose. Yeah, everyone's got a spare purpose. Throw it my way.
And I totally agree with that. I think life without a purpose is quite difficult, and I think a lot of people fall into the trap of materialism. And I try not to fall into that trap because inherently, you know, material stuff is lovely. It's nice to have expensive guitars, but when you've picked it up 33,000 times, you know, it doesn't really inspire you to the next song. So, you know, that's me really. I just love writing songs. I'm always going to write songs, even if nobody else listens to it. I'm going to do it, and hopefully I will write one or two that people, you know, like your good stuff, you enjoy. Yeah.
What do you think the secret is of a good song? Is it the integrity and the honesty is it just a person being honest and giving true expression?
Yes.
Rather than somebody saying, right, your accountant's phoned up, you need a new fucking album to clear, you know, for next year.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's why a lot of first albums are their people's best albums, because they've written it, you know, before they've earned the pay dirt sort of thing, and the second album is always the crunch one, because that's when they're under pressure to perform as a professional. And second albums are always, you know, very dodgy. Not always, you know, Led Zeppelin 2 was a cracker, you know, but, you know, I think it is. I think it's all about trying to nail something where people think, what's the credibility? Is this credible? Is this like an actor, a credible actor, or rather than just somebody who's faking it, who's got the technique but hasn't got the soul, you know? And I think it's about that. It has to be. I do my own sort of research, and the songs that I go back to are the ones that have either meant things to me at certain points in my life, or ones that sometimes on the radio, the lyric tends to be something that you're going through at like that time. I think, I can relate to that. I'm trying to nail that. If you can capture a generalization, which is at one time specific, but at the same time broad enough for lots of people, not just the men of, you know, of a certain age to relate to, whether it's a woman or a young girl who maybe is going through a certain thing, that'd be great, you know, because it's all about humanity at the end of the day. That's all. I think the only thing we've got left now is our humanity, because good God, are they trying to destroy our humanity out there in the big bad world? And holding on to our humanity is part of my remit. My job now is to keep hold of humanity, because without that, I just don't. I wouldn't even get up in the morning anymore, Jimmy. Quite honestly, I just wouldn't.
Like I said, it's the reason for being. And What do you think about the theory of the 432 Hertz? Are you familiar with that? Well, I'm sure you are. Where in 1939, Joseph Goebbels and the Rockefeller Institute pushed for concert pitch of music being changed from 432 Hertz to 440 Hertz, which we're currently at now. Apparently 432 Hertz is in resonance with the planet, but 440 Hertz, as we are all tuned to now, it causes antisocial behaviour, and it's very meant to be detrimental for us as beings. Do you think there is anything in that, or do you think once again it all boils down to the intent of the song, and that when a song's delivered with intent and expression, expressed in a beautiful way, do you think that transcends frequency?
I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But I think what you could say, if that genuinely is the case, I think we should all down tune back to 432. Then I'm going to be trying that when I get home now. I am.
Apparently, lots of ancient instruments found were tuned to 432. Chris D, who masters our sound, knows all about this in depth kind of thing. But it's an interesting theory that if you talk about the control system, they've even fiddled with music so that they're controllers of the planet. Are genius, they're evil geniuses. They've done the food, the water, the freak, the earth, you know what I mean, and the music. So it's just an interesting theory.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
But regarding your own work, have you ever laboured over a song and then thought, this is the one, and it's not gone down as well as you thought? Then on the other hand, something fell out your guitar one afternoon, sat on the couch, and people go like, fall over themselves over it.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Is it?
Well, one of my songs called Our Song took me 2 years, from October 2014 to October 2016 to finish. It took me 2 years to write that song. And yet another one, as you say, one called Barricade, was written in half an hour, and it was on the first Hells Bells album, and everyone seems to like it, and it became the single, and it was literally knocked out almost like as a bit of fun. So you just never know. You really don't know how things are going to come out. But I think that the key to it is to stick with both. You've got to be able to recognise the instant hit, and at the same time being able to work on like the more classical sort of magnificent magnum opus sort of thing, you know.
They do say, don't they, Paranoid by Black Sabbath was a filler. Really? They needed one more song for the album. Gosh. And they just knocked out Paranoid by Black Sabbath, which is a fucking... It's a mind-blowing classic of a song. But that's something to think about, really. I've got a couple of questions for you from the floor. One of my regular contributors, and he bars stuff off me. Well, he bars stuff off Colin, Rubber Dub. He just asked, kind of covered it, but we'll go through it again. Rubber Dub says, who was your first influences? And he wants to know also your thoughts on the music industry as a whole.
Well, musically, inspiration was probably, the first influence would probably have been, well, it was a mix, as I mentioned earlier on. It was either sort of Led Zeppelin, Elton John, subliminally, because of my brother's record collection. But I adored Queen in '75 when I was about 13. I was absolutely, there was an album called Queen 2. It just preceded Night at the Opera and Bohemian Rhapsody. So I was into Queen before the whole world. And I hate it when, I don't know if you had that with a band, maybe the Smiths or something, where you know about this band before everyone else. And then everyone piles on. And then you kind of don't like him anymore. So Bohemian Rhapsody was killed for me. I like Queen pre when they were famous, you know, just as they were building up to it. So
I have that with flat caps.
Do you?
I used to wear a flat cap for years.
Did you?
Then Peaky Blinders come out and everybody's shouting Peaky Blinders, and you're thinking, fuck off. So now I'm growing me like an old tramp. And if the world, let's see what the world catches up with that. You know, but yeah, that was an interesting answer to the question. What was Phil Lynott like? Phil Lynott? Is it Phil Lynott? Phil Lynott?
It's
Thin Lizzy, the Thin Lizzy man. What was, did you meet him at these?
Yeah. But he was most of the time just had a great big grin on his face, and you know,
was he off his head most of the time?
So you couldn't get a conversation out of him.
So he liked it. He did like to party then. Yeah. Fantastic band, Thin Lizzy. And if you listen to Iron Maiden, you can hear Thin Lizzy, can't you? And the styles and the hammer-on pull-off things, and you know, you really can hear.
Yes.
We've got a question here from Alana. Is it true that Metallica has borrowed one of your songs?
Well, what's being referred to there is in a song I wrote in 1986 on the first Hell's Bells album called Looks Like Love. I wrote a lyric, and it's a 6-minute, quite a long piece actually for us. There was a section in the middle, almost like an interlude, where I wrote it's like a dream sequence basically, and the lyrics change into a dream sequence. And in that, I actually write, and I'll sleep with one eye open till the day I've chased the wanton ghost of love away. And Metallica, 5 years later, who happened to cover old Discharge songs, so I knew that they knew about our existence and our material, probably inadvertently, I'll give him that, lifted And I'll Sleep With One Eye Open to Sleep With One Eye Open in their massive monster hit Enter Sandman on their Black Album in 1991, 5 years later. So I know that James Hetfield has accidentally lifted my theme out of my songs, but I mean, I'll let him have that one. I'll let him have that £1,000,000 because I remember what I do with £1,000,000, you know what I mean? So I'll let him have that one. I'm going to write another one anyway. If he needs to come to Paul Quigley to borrow my lyrics, then let him do it, you know what I mean? If he's going to borrow mine. But yeah, but it's true. It's true.
Well, it is very frustrating, but I stopped listening to Metallica after the Black Album. I thought the Black Album was a fantastic record, but after that they just seemed to turn into Slipknot.
Well, I didn't write any more lyrics after that. You see, so they didn't they had no, they didn't know how to, they couldn't nick it from.
What is it? Bill Hicks said he had Dennis Leary who used to copy him, and when Bill Hicks got cancer, he said, I just got it so to see if Dennis Leary had contracted too. Because he used to literally rip off his material kind of thing. But fair play to you. And, you don't need the money anyway. You know what I mean? You've got enough money.
I'm loaded.
You've made it to Palletwood Studios. We'll never have fucking James Hetfield, and I certainly won't have Lars Ulrich in here. Anyway, what fucking go there. What was your best? Which gigs of all the gigs you've done stick in your mind as standout amazing shows?
Ones that I performed on?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think it would have to be, I played a gig in, no, actually there's can I change, can I have two?
Do what the fuck you want. You can do what the fuck you want. You can have a crap on the floor if you want.
Well, one as a solo and one as a band member. As a band member back in the Hell's Bells days, it was a place called the Kensington, what was it called now? No, the Wellington in Shepherd's Bush, West London. It was the gig that Kerrang came to. The Kerrang reviewer came down and wrote the review on Hell's Bells, which was the most, people would think I had to slip her a tenner to write this, but the woman who wrote this, but it was absolutely fantastic, and it was a brilliant gig. It was a night that England football team played Portugal in the '86 World Cup, and Lineker scored 3 goals, and so the turnout was surprisingly, well, we thought there wouldn't be anybody because everyone would be at home watching football, but in fact the place was packed. Can't think why, but I mean they were, and it was a fantastic gig, and everyone was saying how, and we were just starting to really knit as a group, and it was really coming together. That was the best gig because Kerrang captured it and wrote about it, which was lovely. But as a solo artist, the best one I ever did was January 2017. I had the opportunity to play at the O2 Academy in Leeds. This fantastic big look. I'll send you the photos. Honestly, I will.
You've sent me some photos, but you've no clothes on in there. I don't mind them actually. I'm quite lonely at the minute. Well,
that was the best gig I ever did. Only because I had proper big monitors and the lighting was amazing. And I think I went down okay. But I held the stage like you have to, Jimmy. I had no band behind me to back me. It was just me. And if I broke a string, it would have been calamity. But I pulled it off. I did the set and I got off. So I thought, wow, that was to me as a performer, that is the key. Is can you hold it up on literally, missus, on yourself? You know what I mean? So I loved it. So yeah, and hopefully my best ones will be this one here today.
I hope we don't. I hope we don't end careers. I hope we don't become known as like the fucking. I don't know, the Black Ravens of fucking podcasts. Who everybody dies after they've been on it or they've been mental asylums, But from being in a band to being a solo artist, do you find it a lonely life travelling to gigs? And if you have a bad gig, you go home on your own and you're thinking, fucking hell. Yeah,
there is that, absolutely. But having said that, you've got your own thoughts and you're forever analysing what can you do better next time, what worked, what didn't work. But the downside of being in a band, of course, is that the nitpicking kind of that, you know, you should have done, or you dropped that note, you know, you don't get any of that. Yeah. So there's it swings and roundabouts, quite honestly. You know, sometimes there's good aspects, but I think the thing is about performance solo is that you're your own boss. You know, you've got your own, you make your own decisions. You haven't got to have committee decisions, which you kind of think, oh, you know, going along with things is, oh, that's terrible. But at the same time, when you have victories and the performances are great, they are brilliant, and you can't really get that on your own. You know, there's no interaction on your own. So you could do a great gig as a solo. You know yourself you did all right, but you don't get a slap on the back or a pat on the back or anything, or you nice one, mate. Not that you need that to motivate you, but you know, it helps. You know, it helps to sort of feel as if you're on the right track. You know?
And then the money's slightly better as well. You know, it's not going 4 or 5 ways, is it? Kind of thing.
Yes.
And you just turn up basically with your guitar. It's not like, I know being in a band as well. Yeah. You have to help the fucking drummer load his stuff in and the PA systems and all that, and then it's like, you didn't fucking help me load the drums and you fucked off, didn't you? And you've got all that. And if it's a shit gig as well and you can't wait to go to the place, you've got all that stuff to load in the van kind of thing, you know.
Exactly.
We got chased out of Aspel once, but that's another story kind of thing. But
really?
Yeah, so have you any rock and roll stories? Have you any, you know, like when you in the pomp, and you know, have you any stories you can tell us what get you arrested or?
Yeah, I got any pop really. There was, it's a bit naff this. I met Jimmy Page. He was one of my absolute heroes, but I did meet Jimmy Page in 2003.
Right.
It was a real punter thing. It wasn't in the musical context, but what it was, there was a competition. Where was it? Oh, I know. It was some charity. It was a Brazilian charity that Jimmy Page at the time was married to a Brazilian woman in about 2003. And I somehow ended up on a mailing list. Long story short, anyway, I entered this competition as a real, you know, starstruck sort of idiot. And I won the competition. Wow. And the prize was to go down to London from Manchester and meet Jimmy Page in somewhere near London Bridge. It was some record shop. And he's just coming out with I think it was one of his solo albums. No, it was a Led Zeppelin, How the West Was Won live album. Oh. And I actually managed to get down there and actually shake hands and touch and chat to the man himself. And that was my, you know, there were obviously meeting people like Lemmy, but most of the time we were all drunk and can't remember it. But that was actually stone cold sober. I remember thinking, I've just touched Jimmy Page, you know, to actually physically touch the man that wrote Stairway to Heaven. To me, it didn't get any better. You know what I mean? It just didn't get any better. That was my highlight of my life musically, as a complete knob. You know?
Fair play to you. I'd say you're a conspiracy theorist is the wrong word for us, because it just kind of denotes some fucking loony in the mum's back bedroom, you know. Do you think to reach the top of the entertainment world, especially the music business, you have to sell your metaphorical soul?
Oh, undoubtedly so.
No.
Yes, I think it's a prerequisite. Nobody's allowed to get that high, air quotes, whatever that is. That means, but in terms of that height, it's normally infinite amount of funds, which at the end of the day doesn't buy you happiness. So you kind of think, well, what are they trading their soul for? You know, if it is just materialism, then that's a price I wouldn't want to pay. But I mean, having said that, you know, it's like a nice problem to have. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, if somebody came and says have infinite amount of money, what would you do for that? And I wouldn't drop me kicks and sort of, you know, for whoever. But you know, I think there is, to answer your question, I think there has to be, you know, and I've got no evidence that, I've got no proof of that, but I think there's a certain echelon, a certain strata that you get called into the smoky room and you kind of have to trade your soul with down at the crossroads. Yeah, I think there's something.
Smear yourself in malt loaf in front of like big people in robes and things like that, and
that kind of thing. Yeah, I would say so. And it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it if somebody said, "Well, here's your opportunity. You're going in there, or not? You're staying out here with the rest of us." I think, Jimmy, hand on heart, at my age, it ain't worth trading for that. Maybe if I was 25 and I was a bit, you know, more wet behind the ears, I might. But now, yeah, I'm quite happy doing what I do now. And if it never earns more than about 3 and 6, then tough. You know what I mean? I enjoy it, and if no one else does, then I'll give a fuck for it.
The thing is, you're living an authentic life in the sense of you being true to yourself.
Yes.
No matter what price there is.
Yeah.
And most people aren't living authentic lives. No. They're living to earn money.
Yeah.
To live materialistic lives, which it doesn't bring happiness. I can't say you're like a fucking millionaire like that. Of course, people need money to pay bills and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
You living true to yourself, and I think when people stray from that, is when the problems start. But
Definitely.
so when you was just after you were in that girls' school video and you reached a level of fame, we can call that. You was in there.
Well, like my face was recognised.
You was in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you? How was that world? Was there a lot of happiness, or was it like a dark world?
It was a dark world. It was, Jimmy. It was because I saw the people produce the narcotic substances was be like, you know, it was like it's everything that you read about. It was like, I just thought, what a hollow, empty existence that they seem to think that that's what they need in order to make this to be functional in that space. And I just thought, that's not what it's about. Music is, it's like it had been infected by a virus. The whole thing had been, and this is, of course, I didn't know that at 21 because I was 21 back then. I didn't know that. I just thought that's the way it was because you'd read about it in the paper that, you know, that everyone was snorting these lines of this, that and the other, whatever. And that was part of the, and you kind of assumed that you would see it, and it was true. You did see it. I didn't partake in it. It wasn't my bag at all because I had to be able to sing, and of course it cocks up all your respiratory system. I wasn't prepared to do. You know, it's like smashing up your tools of the trade. No thanks. You know, and so yeah, I just think it's a complete horrible way of life, and I don't want anything to do with it. You know.
No, would you? I've lost what I was going to fucking say then. But what I was going to say was, in that world,
yeah.
Most of the people around you, are they there because you can do something for them rather than they like you and they won't be your friend? Is it just a case of like the people around you in that circle are like you because you could potentially help them out or do things for them? Yeah. I mean, I've never really experienced fame, but once I went on a reality TV show and I ended up on a red carpet with Rod Stewart's daughter, and it was fucking horrific. You know, there was walls of flashing cameras. And they were screaming at me, "Get the fuck away from her! Fuck off!" Because by me being with her, devalued their pictures. Yes. So there was a wall. It was like a wall. I feel like a rabbit in headlights. Yeah. There was a wall of light, flashing lights. I was scared and like at my fucking depth anyway. Kimberly Stewart were there, and they were screaming at me like, "Get the fuck away from her!" You know what I mean? And it's like, okay then. You know what I mean? It was. I wouldn't say I've experienced fame. Yeah. I would say I have an idea of what it's like, and it did seem like it's just about the people in that arena. It's about what you can do for them, really. And I think that's the whole entertainment business is your economic value, and the better you treat, the more money you can generate for people, the better you're treated. And just like a broken spade, when your spade breaks, you don't think that was a good spade. You throw it in the skip, and that's the same for people. Once they become useless or people lose interest in them, they're just fucked off, and they're thrown out, and that's where the problems start. These people miss the drug of fame. You know, the adrenaline and everything that comes with it, and it is quite a dark business, really.
I mean, for you as a comedian, do you find that
it's finished for me, Paul? I'll be truthful with you, but I'm not bothered.
When you were at the height of your wherever you could
height, when I did my fucking windows on ladder.
Well, when you prepared your material and you heard the feedback when people were laughing at a certain point, did you think, nah, that was worth? Did that when you got your highest buzz, if you like, out of why you did what you did? You know what I mean? Because mine comes when I've written a song, say like "Gone But Not Forgotten," and somebody really starts like whistling it or humming it or just that's when you think that's worth it to me. I don't get off on, you know, like the catwalk bits, as you said, like the red carpet. That would be just like, oh, dreadful. You know, it's all about the material. Did you find that for you, your material resonates with people?
My best gig was the best buzz that I ever did was my first comedy show, and after that, some came close, but nothing ever came close to that. Well, can I just tell you something? You probably know this about red carpets. What they do, when you see them all going to premieres, they call it working the red carpet. And what they do, they go on the fucking carpet and they wave at everybody and all that and get all the pictures taken. And they fuck off out the back door. And that's what Kimberly Stewart did to me, right? It was the Born Ultimatum premiere in Leicester Square. And fucking, I saw Prince walk past and I was stood near fucking Matt Damon and all this. And Kimberly Stewart, we went on the red carpet and I was traumatised. And she left me in reception with this woman She fucked off through the back building into a Range Rover and went home. So I'm sat in pictures on my own like a fucking pervert. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like I said, it's just a hollow. It's just so fucking hollow and empty. But Paul, you've been absolutely fucking fantastic. Give me a hand, Captain. Thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
To Palletwood Studios. What we're going to do, all Paul's musical links are under this video. Well, not under the table, they'll be under the video. So check them out. Subscribe to us. If you want to buy Colin a coffee and donate towards his Tesla, please feel free. Thank you very much, and join us next week where I believe we'll be discussing the law of attraction with Ginny Azalea.